I'm attorney Phil Jusino, and this is Finding Common Ground here on Altice Channel 115. You can also see my radio show, or listen to my radio show actually, and that is every Monday at 5 p.m. on 103.9 FM LI News Radio. Finding Common Ground is on every Saturday, Altice Channel 115 at 10 a.m. Today in the studio, I have a good friend of mine who was my co-host for a number of years, Frank Vetro. Frank, welcome aboard.
Thanks, buddy.
How come you have your shopping list? I thought that...
Because I'm going to cut in on you, man. I'm not letting you take off. I know it's your show.
We're on the same team. That's okay. There's a very pressing issue, Frank, I want to address with you. I was in court today, and someone came up to me, and he says, do you know who you look like? And I said, here it comes.
Oh, boy.
And I had a mask on. Okay? He says, Kevin from Shark Tank. Do you know Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful. I like Mr. Wonderful.
So I've been told that before, but here I am, I'm wearing a mask. Aside from my bald head, do I look like him?
I never thought of that.
I thought I was better looking.
I never thought of that.
And then when he said, I said, are you talking about Mr. Wonderful? He said, yes, and like 3 people behind him all agreed. Now, that's what my nickname was in high school, Mr. Wonderful. I'm only kidding about
Paul
that.
Orndorff?
I had many nicknames, but that wasn't one. So I just wanted to clear the air to see if you thought I looked like... I don't think so.
I don't. But I think Mr. Wonderful is one of the nicest shark of all.
He plays guitar. I didn't know that.
He does. He's lived like in every country.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But he's honest with people. He tells the truth. I think he's a nice guy, actually. I bet in real life he's a nice guy.
He can be firm, but he's being honest. His money's on the line. He's not going to just throw it out there.
And he always makes a good point. Well, then you're going to write a check? They never do.
And then you have Cuban, far right, and it's a pretty good show. This show will air after the second debate, which should have been the third presidential debate, which is tonight. So this is kind of a pre-debate show, except this is not a live show. It's going to be aired after the debate. So if you watch the show, you're going to have an idea of whether Frank or I are making any sense, because you'll have the benefit of having seen the debate before hearing what we had to say. So I'm going to turn it over to Frank for a second. And Frank, if you were President Trump debating Joe Biden, how would you conduct yourself tonight?
Well, what I would do, along those lines, I don't know why they're giving away the strategy of what he's going to do. Like he's been told to let Joe talk, and which
I would do that.
But I wouldn't say it. Like, whatever my strategy is, you'll see when I get there, everybody. We're not going to let your team know what I'm doing. Like, why would they do that?
I don't know, but I've never, remember we had this discussion many times, and when we go to criticize somebody that is that successful, who the heck are we,
I guess,
to tell him what to do? But you're right, don't telegraph it.
Yeah, so anyway, what I would tell him to do, I think that the emails and all, the new findings with Hunter Biden, and now the business partner is going to be in the audience, it should be addressed. The moderator, honestly, should be addressing it, but he'll still have an opportunity, perhaps, to address it.
When he's unmiked, when he's unmuted, I should say.
Yeah, so he should mention that for sure. He needs to answer the questions. At the end of the day, Phil, what wins elections? Money in people's pockets. And the economy, even with the pandemic, is good.
The economy's stupid, right?
It's still good. The unemployment is still good.
I didn't call you stupid. I just want to make sure you're stupid.
It's still good. I would make sure, if I was him, that I'm plugging along on the economy.
I agree. You got to do that. And even I was going to say handlers. No, Trump doesn't have handlers. No. Biden has handlers. Trump has some people that try to advise him who he doesn't listen to. But the people that I guess are giving him some advice that he respects are saying, tout the economic portion of what you're going to do for this and what you have done for this country. So he has a track record that he didn't have in 2016.
Right.
So yes, it took a hit. But if you think about the way the economy is going now, we got hit with something that hadn't hit us in like 100 years. The stock market tanked. I was almost on the ledge when I saw what my stocks went down to, right? But yet it's come back, right? Unemployment is what, 7, 6, something like that, where it had been like 3, and then all of a sudden it went to like 15 or something scary. So that's come back a long way. So his economy, I'm going to call it Trump economy, had to be pretty darn solid.
Oh, man.
Because if it was a weak economy and then we got hit by COVID, that would have been a bigger problem. And if he's going to bring up, like you said, the emails and all that, he has to tie it to Joe Biden not Hunter. He could say they're in this together, but it
Right.
can't be Hunter this and Hunter that. It's
Right.
going to be Joe. What is it, Mr. Big, or what they call him, the big guy?
The big guy.
Are you the big guy? Don't tell me you didn't have discussions with your son about, Burisma and Russia and all of that. Don't tell me you didn't have discussions
Well,
about
you should
that.
frame it. Well, you said you didn't have
China.
You claimed prior that you didn't have any discussion with your son. Some information's come out now that you're well aware of. I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer this again. Did you or did you not? Corner him. Make him say it again.
He's got to do that.
Now that the information, let me ask you one more time.
And then after you ask the question, shut up. Let him answer the question.
Right.
And if he doesn't, that's an answer too. Just like they keep saying, he said it was, I forgot the term he used, but it was almost like, it's a sham they're coming after. Then deny
Right.
that computer belonged to Hunter. Deny it.
Right.
If someone said, Frank, we found a computer, or we found something, and you said, that's not mine, right? You'd say that.
Right.
You wouldn't say that if you knew it was yours. Nobody has come out and said that's not his. So we know it's him. There's also a lot of other things in there that could really cause Hunter a lot of problems. There was even talk about pornography, to the extent of not just regular pornography, child pornography.
God.
There was talk about money laundering. That was the code the FBI used.
Right.
So we got to know about these things.
Right.
And it's not just from Hunter.
And that's right. We have to know either way. So when certain media people start saying, well, it's unverified, it's this and that. First of all, that ain't true. But even if it were to the point, that doesn't mean you don't look into it.
You still look right.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, Hunter said it's not him. Don't worry about it.
Maybe you don't blast it all over the papers or whatever yet, but you still have to investigate it. We need to know this. Either way, right or wrong, we need to know it.
And remember Steve Scully said, oh, it was hacked. And it turned out he wasn't. He lied.
Yeah.
So you still have to look. You can't just take it for face. Whoever says it.
Right.
I don't care if Trump says something that you think he's not telling the truth. You look into it.
You look into everything. It's
You
only the
flesh
highest
it-
position in the United States.
You flesh it out. But my take is he's got to be aggressive. He can't continuously overtalk Biden. He's got to let Biden, figuratively slit his own throat. Because Biden, left to his own devices, will meander. There's times where he'll even say, oh, I'm out of time, I'll shut up.
Right.
You don't see Trump doing that.
Right.
He's got to let Biden speak, and Biden, I don't think, has a great plan. But nobody ever calls him on it, because you hardly ever hear from the guy.
Do you think the moderator tonight will do such things?
No, I do not believe. I don't know why the Republican Party, now I know they didn't maybe pick these, but they allowed it. I guess they had to have some say in it. And if you can't agree, I have one conservative and one liberal, or one Republican and one Democrat, and let them be the moderators. And one can ask a question, another question. I'm not really happy with the mute button. How about a moot button? If someone's talking irrelevant, hit the... Now, the reason why is the American people can decide for themselves. Like last time, let's say people thought that maybe Trump was a little rude or whatever. They formed their own opinions. Some thought he wasn't, some thought he was. Right? The moderator can lose control of that, and you're going to have a button. Is that really the best way to go? I'm not so sure. I want to see how this goes.
Just time that button. How many times? For how long? How many seconds? But
think about it. They pick Scully, who would have done that. He didn't get to do it. They didn't have it. But he's a Democrat, right? He had worked for Biden for a short time, an intern. He had worked for Ted Kennedy for a period of time. This person, you see a picture at the White House Christmas party with Biden. I'm sorry, with Obama. And then her family gives to Democrat causes. Clearly, she's a partisan. It would be like having Tucker Carlson or maybe Hannity.
That would be
the
great.
Dems would never agree to that.
Exactly.
You know what I'd love to see? Maybe have Rachel Maddow and Hannity, or Tucker Carlson and Fredo.
Yeah.
Right? Let them do it.
Tucker Carlson. Could you imagine? Or Mark Levin.
Right. But each one get to say, this is my second.
I didn't know until this week or last week that this is how they pick the moderators. He can't. Who approves this?
I don't know.
I would never do that if I was on a committee.
But I think each party has to, each candidate, his people have to okay.
That's what I mean.
I don't know why.
Even they against them?
Can I say something? I don't know if people maybe thought about this. I don't think it's such a novel idea. You know how Trump goes on these stations for interviews in hostile territory, right? I think in his mind, and I think to some extent it does, it makes him more powerful because he has an enemy. He can say, look at that moderator. So if he doesn't do as well as he had hoped, look at that moderator. That moderator was liberal. Why would he talk to these hostile crowds? Why would he do that? He's not a dumb guy.
No.
He likes to say, I went into hostile territory and I kicked butt.
Yeah.
All right? So it's all part of Trump's grand plan. It really, really is.
I believe it. Listen, I believe it. He's got a way that nobody else has had.
Because think, like, who was the fellow he went on? One of the guys from the Nixon era reporters. I'm drawing a blank on the name. But he actually talked to the guy for like, I don't know, 80 hours or some ridiculous amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And Leslie Stahl, or then he talks to Savannah. Why is he doing these things?
I don't know.
He has a plan. I don't think Trump does anything nilly-willy. And we might look at it and say, why is he doing that? But if he comes out doing well, he's elevated. Because, look, anybody, if he goes on Tucker, or if he goes on, well, you never know with Tucker. He could somehow, but if you go on Hannity and the president did well, of course you're going to do well. It's just like if Biden went on Rachel Maddow, right?
Right.
Or one of those other type shows, or Cuomo. Of course they're going to do well.
Right.
But if you can go on and survive and withstand the slings and arrows in hostile territory, hey, that's pretty good. And I think that's his plan. That's why he does these things.
You know, if Trump wins.
Not if Trump will win.
Okay. When he wins, with everything against him, which is, it's almost more than the first time.
I was going to say, probably more than the first time.
Yeah. It's just amazing how much is it, and how much is out there. Now, let's just no bashing, let's say the media is reporting everything accurately.
Which they're not. But
Let's just say they are. Right. And he wins. Basically, that means that the media is dead in the United States.
with respect to Trump.
Because nobody's listening to them. Mm-hmm. Anyway, nobody believes them.
Well, look, if he wins again, the pollsters will have to find another line of work.
You just said when. Oh,
when he wins, I'm saying the pollsters, they're out of business.
That's another thing. These polls. There was a poll I read about yesterday with 500 people in New York and they posted the results. 500? You know how many people in New York?
Right.
They polled 500 people, and that's going to be inaccurate.
One of the pollsters that did a poll that accurately predicted the last election says Trump will win. Northpot, I forget his first name, from Stony Brook University. It's a model. It's not a poll. 25 out of the last 27. This is a guy that his model works. Right? You don't get 25 out of 27, unless it's fairly accurate. He says Trump is going to win. They've been accurate.
Talking about Trafalgar? Is that?
That's another one.
Right?
Trafalgar says, because he says,
Yeah.
because think about a poll. You're not polling millions of people. You have a poll maybe 500 or maybe 1,000 or maybe 3,000. Is it a national poll? Is it a poll for Pennsylvania?
Right.
Is it a poll, if you poll New York City people, come on.
Exactly.
And you have to, and I'm not a pollster, but I know you have to what's the percentages? If you have more Democrats than Republicans, does that reflect that particular area?
Right.
And also, I always say, I say this, independents decide elections. So if you just do Republicans and Democrats, that's not good enough. You need a lot of the independents. Also, you might say, well, out of the poll, Trump's going to get 8% of the black. I think he's going to get way more than 8% of the black. And if you don't build that into your poll, because you're not going to say, out of the 500, we got to ask, 50 black people. You might not get 50 black, so you extrapolate somehow.
Right.
But if you don't do it, you know math and science. If you don't have the accurate information, extrapolation is meaningless.
Right. Right.
And that's where they get it wrong.
Even with the polls, listen, if the polls every poll out there, every single poll out there said Biden's got Trump by 30%, mm-hmm. I'd still vote for Trump.
Right.
Nobody, why do we, my point is, why do we even need them anyway? I can't believe there's actually an industry.
Well, there's a market
cares?
for it. And I know that, I worked on a couple of campaigns when I was much younger, and they have their own internal polling. That's how they know, or they believe they know, where to send their in a presidential election.
I can see that.
Get to Ohio, get to here.
No, I get that. I can see that. this way they strategically for them to where to go. But for the general public, like nobody should care who's up where. It shouldn't affect anybody.
You should vote the way you're going to vote.
You vote the way you're going to vote.
But you know what? It could cause people to stay home.
That's what I mean. It shouldn't.
That's a problem.
Like people should not be influenced
Think
by
about
these
it.
things.
If you're sitting at home and it's raining out, and you're like, my guy's down like 10 points, and you're in a state, but like in New York, I don't predict President Trump winning New York. As I said in the post, that's not to say he can't win New York. You know how he wins New York? More people vote for him than not.
Right.
Simple. It's not rocket science.
Right.
But I'm careful about what I predict because I want my credibility to be intact.
Right.
Do I predict Trump wins? Yes. I predict Donald Trump will continue to be our president for the next 4 years. Do I think he's going to take New York? I wouldn't bet that he is. But he doesn't need New York.
No.
That's why I'm surprised with the Democrats where they say, let's get rid of the electoral college. They start with a lead. Think about it. They're banking unless you're Reagan.
Yeah.
You're banking New York.
California.
You're banking California, and there's a few other states. People say it's going to be close. It may not be close. They say he's ahead in Ohio. If he wins like Ohio, Florida, let's say he wins Arizona. Let's say he wins Minnesota, which he was close. And he wins Texas. He's not losing Texas, let's be honest. He wins Texas. This could be a very big night for him.
It could be. It could be. I think he's going to win by more than last time.
And last time wasn't close. People look at 330, whatever it was. It wasn't razor thin. You have to get 270.
And there was more.
He blew past that.
There was more excitement for Hillary than there is for Biden. There's zero. I mean, I don't mind. There's literally zero excitement.
You're right.
Biden.
But it's funny to contrast Biden to Hillary. Hillary had more enthusiasm to some extent, but a lot of people didn't like her. There aren't a ton of people out there that hate Biden. If you said to somebody, it's like, okay, he's Biden. You don't hate it. There were people that didn't like Hillary.
Right.
But there were people also that felt she was, they would have bet their arm that she was going to win.
Oh, forget it.
I think the people that want Biden to win, they're not too comfortable right now.
No.
They're not too, they might have been for a little while.
It's not so much they want Biden to win, they want Trump to lose.
They want Trump to lose, right. I remember I said I have never met an enthusiastic Biden supporter.
No.
I've never been like, Biden.
It's literally zero excitement. To this day, there were rallies. Did you see Harris's
Obama can't get a decent crowd.
Harris's last rally was like, that's what it sounded like.
I was funny. I think I said she had like 5 people. Maybe she had 8 or 10.
Glad to be here. She's like pretending she wasn't even excited. It's crazy.
Look, momentum and enthusiasm, right? Enthusiasm, Trump has always had it. Momentum, he's had it recently. Think about it. A 74-year-old man who's down in the polls by like 10 points, if you believe a little bit of them, right? Okay, but I'm saying, gets COVID, right? He's like driving around the block 2 days later. He heals. He's back. He's doing 2 rallies a day. He did one last night. He wasn't sitting there preparing for the debate. He's the kind of guy, you don't do that to him. You don't sideline Trump.
No.
You're like, get out there. I wouldn't be surprised if right now he's doing a rally.
Well,
he'd be like, let me finish up so I can get to the debate.
But when he got out of the hospital and he went back to the White House, like God forbid he wants to go back to work. He caught so much grief for that. The guy wants to go to work.
Right. He's the president of the United States. He's got to work.
If anybody else did that, wow, they really care about this country. Woo, look at the sacrifices. Trump, like the first question was, who else did you infect or something like that? Like,
well, you know what's interesting too? Obama, I think, put himself in a tough spot. I don't know if a lot of people caught it, but he blamed Trump for catching COVID. All right? Does he really want to do that? Because a lot of people got COVID that it just happened. It wasn't like they went out there and they said, oh, geez, I'm going to go to a super spreader event. All right? And he said, look, there were people that came up to him that wanted to hug him. Like the Gold Star parents he was talking about, the children, their children that died in the military, and people were hugging him. He said, what am I supposed to do? Like, hey, stay back. He's touchy-feely.
Right.
He could have caught it that way. It wasn't just rallies where he could have caught it.
Well,
people catch it.
People caught it. Yeah. A lot of people caught it by paying attention to the rules. Stay inside.
It still happened, right?
Yeah, wear the mask, and they got it.
Right. So if Obama's coming out and saying it's his fault he caught it, you're insulting a lot of people out there. And I don't know if a lot of people really paid attention to what he was saying, but he said that. He said it was his fault. He should have taken more precautions. You're the president. You're not going to hide in the basement like Biden does. Right? Biden's not even the president. He's hiding in the basement. You have to be out there.
When it comes to besides polls, now you bring up Obama and he's stumping out there. When it comes to things like that and people endorsing people, that to me is just like polls. It's useless to me.
Yeah.
So I mean,
unless the movie star's naked.
Whoever's endorsed Trump, I promise you, if nobody endorsed Trump, it doesn't matter. I don't care who endorses Trump.
No, you don't get much mileage out of some. You see, when they had like the naked, seriously, like the naked movie stars or whatever it was, and you didn't see all their body, but they had no clothes on and they were saying vote for it. That is the most ridiculous. I'd vote against their candidate just for that stupid reason.
Yeah.
But when like Taylor Swift comes out or LeBron James, most people are not swayed by some movie star or somebody.
Who cares?
Who cares? On both sides.
On both sides.
On both sides.
The Dems get more of the Hollywood stuff.
Good. But like, I think someone like a Leo Tyrell, let's say, who was on that other side, I think that carries more weight when they see somebody flip. Taylor Swift's a liberal, we know that. A lot of the movie stars, they're liberals. So when they say vote, when, what's her name, the singer, female singer, who's on, it'll come to me, Barbra Streisand, all right? You know her politics. So when she comes out and says vote for Biden, are you surprised?
Yeah.
But when a Leo Tyrell, who we all know who Leo Tyrell is, a civil rights attorney, he looks like Gary Coleman.
Yeah.
He's stumping for Trump. He used to be the opposite. So when a guy like that makes the move, you got to think, is that the tip of the iceberg with black males? I'm not saying black females are going to go big for Trump.
Right.
I suspect maybe 30% of black males may go and push the whole black population vote up to over 15%. I could see that done.
If that happens.
They say the male Latinos also.
I mean, on the surface, that doesn't look like a big number, but that's a huge number.
It is.
That's huge.
Because most presidents, if you get 6%, 5%, 6% of Republican of the black vote, you're lucky.
Right.
He had 8% last time, close to 9%. And that was total. But he had, I think, like over 10% of the male vote. There are a lot of black men out there that don't support Biden. And look at Herschel Walker, right? He's a big Trump supporter. You have Leo Tyrell. You have a whole bunch of guys out there.
Hey.
50 Cent. What's the other guy?
50 Cent.
Fitty.
He doesn't want to be 20 Cent.
Right. Fitty. Who's the other guy? Ice Cube.
Ice Cube.
You have people, and they're not conservatives.
Well, look what happens. You know what it is. A lot of them say this too. When they call, he returns the phone call. He takes his time and he meets
takes
with
them seriously. He respects them.
Yes.
Biden he doesn't need to, he thinks.
Yeah.
Because, hey, the blacks going to vote for me anyway.
Yeah.
What do we always call it? The plantation mentality.
Or else you're not black.
Right. You ain't black.
Right.
Right. And for way too long, Democrats in general take the black vote for granted. They think they don't have to work for it. And any politician should work for every vote they get. I don't care who your base is. Even Trump still plays to his base because he doesn't want to lose those guys and women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. Let me ask you a question. Back in 2016, you and I pretty early on were on the Trump train, right? And we didn't do it nilly-willy. We watched, we listened to what he had to say. He won the primary, and then we came out and we said we thought he was going to win. Has anything for you changed? Do you still feel the same way about him? And now he has more of a track record of it. He has a track record. But you're still on the Trump train like me. What are your observations of his 3.5, almost 4 years?
Listen, one thing that stands out more than anything, even besides his track record, you know where that guy, even if you don't like him, but you know where he stands.
He's transparent, he's consistent.
Yeah, he gives the interviews, he doesn't run from anything. He's not sitting there like this, reading things. Like, he is.
He's not relying on some poll to tell him what to do.
To me, and that old expression, it's words and actions, two different things. Actions speak louder than words. It's what he does. I don't care. I don't really care how he acts and how he. It doesn't matter to me. When people start to say he's not presidential, well, what is presidential? Like, what is presidential? Who cares what they speak? If that's how you're judging people, then my whole family, that's from Italy and can't speak a lick of English, and they, do one of these, and I guess you're not going to respect my family. They're very respectable people. I don't care how he acts and how he talks, and if he's rough around the edges, so be it.
So be it.
It doesn't matter. What has he done? And I think he's done a lot. I do. And he's done everything he said he was going to do, he did or died trying to do it.
And it's funny, people always forget, he had at least 2 Nobel Peace Prize nominations. Might have even been 3. All right, that's pretty amazing for a guy like Trump, because the establishment, they don't like him. That's why Bush, the McCain wife, they're all against him. And people, they like to use it he uses it as a badge. People say, oh, well, Bush, well, okay. So Bush doesn't support you. Big deal. I'm going to vote for Biden because George Bush is supporting Biden.
He could have easily, with better coverage, gone down as
he still can.
One of the most amazing. You don't have to like him.
I think he still can, Frank. History's going to judge him well.
Don't like him. You don't have to like. I'm not telling you to like him, but because you feel this about him and you feel that about him, well, feelings aren't facts.
Right.
And people need to compartmentalize. Don't like him. Fine, he's a jerk. Okay, all right, I'll give it to you. You want to say he's a jerk? He's the biggest jerk that ever walked this planet. But how's he doing in office?
He gets the job done.
How's he doing? The guy down the block running the gas station might be a jerk. The guy running the grocery store might be a jerk. Who knows? You don't know. But what are you going to do? How's he doing at his job?
Right.
And that's what you got to worry about.
It's kind of like, and I use this example a lot. Remember the Boston Red Sox, when they were winning World Series, and Manny Ramirez. They would say it's Manny being Manny. In other words, he'd act like a jerk. He'd say something. Right? Or even when the Yankees were winning, remember they had Billy Martin fighting Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
You look past that because they get the job done.
Right.
And it's not like Trump is doing anything bad. You might not like the way he says things, the way he comes out with it. You know what's amazing to me? You ever see film clips of when he was much, much younger? If you played that now and compared it to what he said then, it's very similar. He hasn't really changed.
No.
I was amazed because I saw a couple of those film clips and I'm like...
I YouTubed a lot of those old interviews.
Right.
Yeah.
When Barbara Walters interviewed him and it was another... And
David Letterman.
He's been very, very, very consistent. Even about China, because he's a businessman worldwide.
Bad deals. He's always been saying that.
And I think too many of our politicians don't know a bad deal if it bit them in the butt.
Right.
Because they look at it from a political spectrum.
I mean, remember this. He came in after Obama, and if Obama and Biden were that good,
you wouldn't have Trump.
You wouldn't have Trump. So Biden, he was the man. He was it. And, how good was he? Trump wouldn't be here.
Well, think about it. Right. Obama's the president for 8 years. Right. If he's doing so well, Hillary comes in, you figure she's going to keep things going the way Obama kept them going, right? She's a Democrat. She's on. So if you really were happy with the way things were for those 8 years, you'd vote for Hillary. You would have elected Hillary. You'd have a President Hillary Clinton. He was like the counter movement.
Yeah.
And people took a big chance. You knew what he did. He was a developer. He had a TV show. He owned a football team for a little while. So you kind of knew about him. But that was a big leap of faith. That guy never held any political office. It wasn't even like he was town councilman. So America really went out on a limb to say, we're going to go against an established senator, right? She was a senator. She was almost like a co-president.
Secretary of State.
Right, Secretary of State. Almost like a co-president with Bill Clinton. And they just swept her aside, electorally, let's be honest. But they swept her aside and they put President Trump in. Now, they're looking at, we better off more than half the people polled. Now, I always say, if Donald Trump is, let's say, down in the poll by 2 points, I'm thinking he's up by 2.
Yeah.
If it's even, I'm thinking he's up by 7. If he's down by 10, I'm thinking it's pretty close within the margin of error. Yeah. That's how I look. Some people, why do you cite a poll, Phil? Because I'm telling you how I look at polls. Trump notoriously underpolls. If 2016 taught us anything, when you see something that says Hillary Clinton has a 100% chance of winning, I saw that. I post that once in a while. Yeah. 99%, 98%. and she loses. Where he gets 330, whatever it is, electoral votes. It wasn't razor thin victory, right? He won Ohio, and he won states that people didn't think he would win.
Right.
You know, he won Florida. It took a little while for us to get the results, but he won Florida, and people are looking like he can't win now. I'm like, come on, they're gonna be surprised. If he were to lose, I'll admit I was wrong. I'm reading the tea leaves. You know, I'm not going by polls. I look at polls just to see what they say.
Right.
So I can make fun of them later.
Right.
But I think, like you said, Trafalgar, North Pot, this other guy, I forget his name, he has like a bow tie, and he says he thinks it could be a big victory. I'm hoping it's big. You know why? Because if it's close, we're not going to know for days. Yeah. We may not know for days.
Plus, I want to go to bed early this time. I was up for the whole thing last time.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't it exciting?
That was so exciting. I was getting.
I wanted to run down the street yelling.
I got phone calls and text all night. He's gonna do it. He needs this. It was better than Super Bowl.
You know what's funny? People were sending me messages because, like, even now, people that think he's going to win, they're not as sure as I am. So, Phil, do you think I get like these private messages? Phil, do you think he's really going to win? They want me to make them feel all better and say I am still confident that he's going to win. They're like, I hope you're right, Phil. I hope you're right, Phil. Have faith. And if we're wrong, you know what? Then we better prepare for the next election. Well, 2 years will be, the next Congress. But then we got to do all we can to get a Republican that can beat him in 4 years, assuming he lasts 4 years. You know what I mean? I'm still, not so sure that Harris is not looking to kick him to the curb at some point, and he's not gonna run like his things like Trump will.
Why is there? What do you feel about early voting?
I don't like it.
I want to see what the point. Like, votes are already in. Like, what if? Just what if? What if everything's legit and some comes out with Biden and
that's why
now the votes
are
in and like that's crazy. Like,
I can understand absentee ballots. We all understand. You're out of the country. You're ill. There's reasons for an absentee ballot. Even mail-in, we never had that before. It's a new thing for New York. All right, but to vote like weeks ago, I just don't.
There's so much
I'm not
more
comfortable
still.
with that.
Yeah, that's it's absurd.
Because you're right. Something could come out and you're like, all right, I already cast my vote.
I don't even know what the point is. What's the point?
I don't know. The Democrats I know love because that's their thing. They bank their votes right away.
Right.
Now, the only problem with voting on the day, if you had the opportunity to do it before, there's one state, I forget where it is, they had a snowstorm. What if they have a snowstorm in a key state on Tuesday? Tuesday, the day of election.
Right.
Some people might not go out. But I think it's fair to say that there absolutely will be a red wave because that's how we Republicans vote. Is the red wave going to be enough? That's the question. But to say that, you also would be missing the point because there's independents.
Right.
And many independents have already voted. I want to show you, this is important. Someone sent me a private message and said, Phil, I'm worried, 400,000 more Democrats sent in mail-in ballots. Now, that doesn't mean everybody there voted for Biden, the Democrat. But let's assume that was the case. I looked it up, and there were 470,000 independent or non-affiliate of some other party. So that's tremendous.
Yeah.
So let's just say the Democrats get more in the beginning of the early voting, right? Which is the mail-in and all that, right? What?
Don't we know the national head of the Independence Party?
Oh yeah, that's
He's
New York.
No, I think he's national.
I don't know. I thought he was just New York.
I think he might be national.
Could be. So let's say they bank more votes to begin with, but that's their votes anyway. Those are the same people that would show up on November 3rd. Then you have the independents. Let's say the bulk of the independents vote for Trump, which is what I predict.
Okay.
Then the big red wave comes, and he wins Florida. He's going to win Ohio. Pennsylvania, he can win. He can win Pennsylvania. And I think with all that fracking nonsense, he's going to win Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He's not going to win Philadelphia, but he's going to win Pennsylvania.
Right.
And I think this could be a big, big day for him. I really do.
Yeah.
You know what it is?
I
the
agree.
Analysts want to be safe. Oh, it's razor thin. I don't know about that.
I mean, stations report on the polls.
Right.
We know how they treat Trump. They're never going to say he's doing better than he is.
No.
It ain't happening. It's just that's all you need to
But you know what? You're not seeing enthusiasm. And I talk to people, and I that are Biden supporters, and they're not 100% comfortable. They're really not. They're like, I hope he wins. No one's come out. Like when I do a post, I say Trump's going to win. You disagree? State your case. I don't have too many takers. I might get an emoji.
I don't see many Biden stickers or.
There are a few, but not.
And this is New York.
Right. Oh yeah.
And you don't see it. What about other places?
Right.
Forget it.
I think Trump's going to win. I really do.
I do too. Little side before I forget. Just a little side.
I want to take that back. I know Trump's going to win.
Attaboy. Little ha 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 ha, you fool. Like last time, remember?
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Just a little before I forget. So our friend Jeffrey Deskovic.
Yes.
Right. He has the Deskovic Foundation. He helps get people released from prison.
He's been in that chair a number of times.
Yeah. Tomorrow, his foundation that he went behind, Andrew Krivak, is being released from prison. 24 years in prison, wrongfully locked up for rape and murder. He didn't do. They didn't drop the case, but he's being. It was overturned. They're going to appeal it or whatever.
So he's going to be out.
But he'll be out on bail tomorrow at 10 a.m. So what's that? The 22nd, 23rd, Friday the 23rd.
Right.
He's actually the co-defendant of a man you met, the big guy, Anthony DePippo.
Yes. At Gary's house.
Which is weird because Anthony.
He did a lot of time too.
Within like 21 years, 20 years, and he was released 3 years ago. And they were co-defendants. And it's the same set of facts and circumstances. Same thing. But he stayed another 3 years. It's not funny, but he'll be out tomorrow. And that's in large part, Jeffrey reviewed the case file, did all the stuff, and he helped get him out. So good man.
Jeffrey. Yeah, and just like we had Marty Tankleff on, both of them, similar stories. They went in at a very young age, like 17.
Yeah.
I think Jeffrey, by the time he went
16.
in, he was a little bit old. Well, he was charged, but I think it was. But in any event, they each came out after like 16, 17 years, and they were 30s, like 33, 34. So think about it. You go in at 17.
Oh, man.
And you come out at 34. And to talk to them, it's interesting because we take things for granted, like cell phones, ATM machines. It's like coming out to the Jetsons.
Yeah.
You go in and think about it, the 80s or whatever.
I think I remember Marty telling me something about, or maybe us, he realized that, he was in the supermarket, and he was in the cereal aisle, and he had all these choices of cereal to choose from.
Right.
Unlike when you're locked up in prison.
Right.
And,
he did. I remember that story.
Yeah.
That was one of the things.
The little things that we
Right.
take for granted.
Even like, think about when you're 17, you didn't have a checkbook, right? Or you had maybe a bank account, passbook account back then. And then you come out, and all this tech, you can deposit checks with your cell phone. And,
Right.
we have to, the internet. I'm sure, in jail they probably had access to something.
Right.
But it's a whole new world for them, and they come out. And now, fortunately, though, think about it. Fortunately for Jeffrey and fortunately for Marty, they won a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they had money to go into businesses or to buy things to pay their way.
Right.
Let's say a guy is wrongfully convicted and he comes out just after 20 years. What do they give you, a suit, and they pat you on the butt and say, get out of here?
Yeah. In some states, it's like $50,000 a year, even if you got $1 million. I mean, you need more than that.
Right.
To
But
get
not
through
everyone
life.
is as lucky. When I say lucky, I'm in terms of they were exonerated.
Right.
And they did a lot of time. It's hard to say they're lucky. They did 60, but they got their name back.
Right.
All right. People don't say to them, "Oh, that's the one that killed." Some people still might believe Marty's guilty, not Jeffrey. Marty because of whatever. Because at least in Deskovic's situation, they got the guy who did it because of a database that didn't exist at the time.
Right.
Marty, they never convicted anybody. So even though we all have an idea who did it, nobody was ever held account.
Right.
After Marty was cleared.
Right.
But he got his name back. He's got money. They both became attorneys.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. And Jeffrey's Foundation helps people get acclimated.
And you couldn't, if you just did your time, let's say you come out, you didn't do it, but you were convicted, you come out after 20 years, you can't become an attorney. Not with a felony like that.
No.
There's no way.
No.
So at least they got the name back, they got cleared, They didn't just wallow away in misery. They became attorneys. I admire that.
Unless it happens under SPOTA, and SPOTA reduces the felony charges to misdemeanor charges so that an attorney can keep practicing law.
That could happen.
That could happen. It did happen in Suffolk County. You know the guy. We'll keep whatever. Okay. Don't get me started on Suffolk County corruption.
That's for another show. Right? We can segue right into that show. Okay. So Lee Zeldin is running for Congress. I think he's a pretty safe bet. Get out there and vote, though.
Yeah, he's going.
Never take anything for granted. Get out and vote, because God forbid. And I know our senators are not going anywhere. No. Okay, but if we have a senator taking Peter King's place, Andrew Garbarino. He's running in the 2nd district. We have Lee Zeldin. It's very, very important, because if we can get back the House, because we have the Senate, we don't have the House. The House, they're the ones that impeach, and then the Senate removes. If we lose, or if we don't get the House back, so let's assume Biden would have win, God forbid, and the House stays Democrat, and the Senate could very easily, if it doesn't go well, goes Democrat. All right? They're going to have all 3 branches. They're going to have the Senate, Congress, the whole Congress, I say, Senate, House, and the presidency. So they're going to have 2 very important branches of government, which affect the 3rd branch, which is the judiciary.
Right.
And we see Trump. Think about it. During this 3.5, almost 4 years, if we had a Democrat in there, a Democrat would have picked 3 Supreme Court justices.
Wow. 3.
Not to mention what was there already. So it would be a liberal court instead of a conservative court. So that's very, very, and a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of other federal judges that get picked. They all think it's the Supreme Court of the United States.
Oh, tons.
Tons
He put
of
in
judges.
Tons. Yeah.
Tons. He's put in more than, I think, just like any president in modern day history.
What you're talking about right now is what people overlook, and people say, "Oh, just vote for the president," and the other guys on the list are important, and midterms, and it's important.
Right, because think about it. If President Trump wins, which I believe he will, and let's say the House stays Democrat, and let's say by some chance the Senate goes Democrat, they could impeach him.
Yeah.
They could theoretically have the numbers, because there was a couple of rhinos there that you could see them voting to impeach, like a Romney.
Oh yeah,
right?
Rhinos don't like
So
them.
that's why it's so important. I know New York, we're not going to get our wish and have 2 senators, or at least one that's a Republican. That's not happened this time around. But very, very important to get out and vote. The show's on Long Island, so Andrew Garbarino and Lee Zeldin.
Zeldin, he did a good job. Homegrown guy. He's been on the show a ton of times with us.
Right. And then local. There's local races that is very, very important. If you believe a certain way, I'm a good Republican. Right? That doesn't mean I wouldn't vote for a Democrat judge. As an attorney, I'm in a unique position because I know some of these people that are running for judgeships better than the average person. They don't know, Frank, right? Right? If you see a list of candidates for judgeship, for the most part, you may know because you're more in the know than most, but for the most part, you're going to be like, I don't know these people.
Right.
Unless they're already a judge.
Yeah, I wonder how they vote. Like, how the hell are they going to vote? They don't know.
Yeah, or how they're going to, and they can't even campaign the same way as like a,
that's right.
I'm against this, or I'm for this. I went to this law school and I'm qualified. That's why judges don't spend a lot of money campaigning, other than putting a sign on a lawn.
Right.
Or touting maybe where they went to school, or they've been a judge before, or I've been in practice 20 years, 30 years. That's it. You can just throw your resume out there a little bit, but you can't really do that. So a lot of people who vote for a judge don't really know.
Right.
And then they, of course, endorse. So you really don't have a choice many times, Frank.
Well,
that's another.
In Suffolk County, forget it.
Cross endorsement.
It's crazy.
So you're taking the choice out of the hands of the people.
It's a big problem. It's a big problem. Cross endorsements. In Suffolk County, it's out of control.
Yeah, I can only speak for Suffolk. It's widespread. There's other places that do it, but I'm speaking
out of
from
control
experience.
in Suffolk County.
And again, I'm not saying that some attorneys are qualified, but it's almost unfair to the parties to do that. And I understand why they do it. Less money, they guarantee somebody a spot. They say if you're cross-endorsed by the Republicans and Democrats, you're not going to lose. You're going to win that seat, or that judicial position. You're going to win.
Let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel that I mean, you're outspoken about your stance on politics.
Absolutely.
That would affect you in a court?
If you elect me, Frank, then I'll tell you my position on that. Does it affect me?
Like a judge, maybe a judge
I
is
had
liberal.
that conversation with my dad today.
Did
I
you?
don't think so. I think I'm well respected enough, and I think I have enough standing where I don't think a judge would do it. Look, could it subconsciously creep into a judge's mind? But you know me, I'm not about to have a judge take advantage of me.
Right.
I'm going to fight for my client. There's also the appeals process. There's other ways that I could protect my client if I thought a judge was being unfair, maybe a recusal. If a judge look, no judge is going to come out, hey, Phil, I'm voting for Biden, so your client doesn't have a chance. That's not going to happen.
Right.
I've never felt that. People have asked me that question. I've never felt that way. The other day, I had Judge Krecker, who's the administrative judge here in Suffolk County, on my show. Right? If he didn't respect me, he wouldn't be on my show.
Right.
And if I didn't respect him, he wouldn't be. I have most respect for Judge Krecker, and he respects me. He came on my show. Other judges could see that too. So they know that I'm a respectable guy. I don't throw my politics around in the courtroom. Never would do that. You know, I might be, before a case, I'm talking to an attorney, we might talk about politics. I never bring my politics up. If you go on any record that I've been on in Suffolk County, you will see strictly professional. I don't talk politics. You know, sometimes a judge will bring it up, you know, to me, you know, off the record, of course.
Right.
And we'll engage in a little bit of banter, you know, but I don't think it's hurt me. It hasn't hurt me with my clients. I have clients that are liberals that I represent. I use the example, remember this? Scully.
Oh, yeah.
All right? If you're on that plane, do you give a damn about the politics of the pilot?
Right.
Scully came out and is supporting Biden. If I'm on that plane, I don't care. I want the best pilot. If you're in the courtroom, you want the best attorney you can get.
Right.
And someone that'll fight for you. So I've never had someone come in. It was funny, I had a discussion with a couple, and the husband said, oh, you voted for Trump, maybe we should get another attorney. And the wife said, no, we're going with Phil. So that really happened. I won't say who, but that really happened.
Wow.
That was the closest I ever came to losing a client because of politics. And they started it. No, it just, look, you walk into my office, you're going to kind of know. It's not in your face, but there's a hat, you know, there's a little trinket here or something. You're going to know, and I'm not ashamed of it. If I was, you think I'd be doing this show? You think I'd be on the radio predicting who I think is going to win or saying positive things about Trump and negative things about Biden? I wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And there's a lot of people say that, oh, there's not really a big silent majority. There are a lot of people that would put on their house a sign that says Trump. But there are a lot of people that won't.
Right.
Because they don't want the aggravation. I've already had one Trump sign stolen from my property. My son stopped another one from being. Isn't that sad?
It's crazy.
I have to bring my sign in at night. I don't want to do it, but I only have one sign left. There's a few Biden signs in my neighborhood, they're by the street. Nobody bothers them. I wouldn't think. Would you think you see a Biden sign, I'm going to go steal it?
It's insanity.
The left does that. Not all of them, but it's on the left. They steal Trump signs. They do things like that.
I mean, stealing signs is...
Anybody.
I ran for office, and they were stealing my signs.
Mm-hmm. Well, they wanted souvenirs, Frank. They wanted the souvenirs.
I couldn't even. By the time I got around the corner, the signs were gone. It was crazy. Like, why? Like, it's got to be a crime.
And you know what? And if I saw somebody stealing a Biden sign, and I would say something, I'd be like, put it back. What are you, a jerk? Don't do that. It's not right, whoever does it, but it just seems that if you have a Trump sign out there, your sign is more likely to be stolen than a Biden sign.
Oh, no doubt.
And I'm stating that. That's my belief, and that's what I've seen. No, I haven't seen. If I put my Trump sign out by the street, it wouldn't last a day.
No, forget it.
But there are Biden signs out by the street. I got to keep it near the Ring camera, and I shouldn't have to do that.
No.
But at night, I'm like, I leave the Zeldin sign out. Nobody's stealing my Zeldin sign.
I'm surprised, to be honest with you.
Because it doesn't have that, reaction.
They took my signs. Did I really repulse people that much?
I think so.
I must.
Have it electrified. You see that
Yes.
on social media where someone touches it, they get electric shock. I'm not for that only because a kid could touch it.
Don't.
Somebody.
Well, don't.
I know.
I'm for it, I think. Don't. They cost a lot of money, those signs.
Yeah, I only had two.
I
got one left.
Listen,
I got one left.
You had to buy them? You didn't buy them. They give them to you though.
You know, but like if you donate or something, they send you whatever.
Yeah.
But so I had two. One is gone, and the other one was almost taken. I told my son he should have chased that guy down. No, I'm only kidding. That's probably not the way to go. I could have. I'm faster than my son, so I'm only kidding.
I would.
If I would, I'll be honest with you. If I saw that happen,
I would.
I would probably hold the person down and call the police. It just angers me so much that, and it goes against free speech. I have a right to have that sign out there.
Right.
If you're offended by a Trump sign, then you're a wuss. You might not like it. I see a Biden sign, I chuckle. Okay, yeah, big deal.
I don't see a Biden sign.
There were a few out there.
Yeah?
But yeah, I saw a few out there.
I haven't seen anything.
There's two in my
I
neighborhood.
swear I haven't seen any signs. I don't look though. No stickers, no nothing. No hats,
I don't think there's a Biden hat.
shirts. I was caught.
I got a great Biden.
By
I got a
accident.
great Trump shirt. You
By
saw it.
accident. I didn't mean it. I was caught in 2 Trump rallies.
Mm-hmm.
It was off. It was crazy.
It's massive.
Listen,
They're massive.
thousands. I know. I'm looking around. I'm like thousands of people, not hundreds. It is not 5 people.
And
right?
we're in New York. That's got to translate into something. For me.
Thousands. I mean, 2 of them. I didn't mean to go. I swear I didn't mean to go, and I was just in the middle of it. Like, I can't believe this. And the music, and wow, it was just crazy. It's crazy. It's a good time. I mean,
a couple of weeks ago, I went to the city, and I got on exit 62, Nichols Road, and I drove west, and there was a Trump rally going on. It was going strong, and I'm hitting exit 50. So think about it. I'm going like 60 miles this way, west. They're going 60 miles east. And I get on at 62, and there's still a Trump rally going, the same rally going on at exit 50. And then I'm at 49, and there's some stragglers. But think about how big that must have been. So, 120 miles an hour, think about it. I'm going this way, they're going,
it's crazy.
There
was last weekend, no, the weekend before, 2 weeks ago, a Biden rally on the corner where 347 where the train car is and 112. There's that train car. They're standing on the car like 8 people, 7 people.
Oh yeah.
That was
112.
On 112.
I saw
there was
that.
like 7 people.
I saw that.
Like no cars are honking. The one car honked. He's like, "That's a good sign."
I pointed to my Trump hat.
And I got caught at the light because the ambulance came by. So then you get jammed up. The light switches over. So I was there for like 2 or 3.
I think Biden was there. That was one of the rallies.
They had a sign of Trump. It was a Trump picture. That was like the 8th person. It was so pathetic. There was nothing. No honk.
That's amazing. We have about a minute left. Very quickly, I wrote a book called Divorce: A Practical Guide. You can get it on Amazon or my website, Jusinolaw.com. You can see these shows. Go to YouTube. I'm also on Spotify. Just hit in Jusino Drive. It'll pop up. YouTube. Go see prior shows. Like, subscribe. All right. If I didn't say that, my producer would yell at me after the show. So I want to make sure. Now, Frank, quick, you wrote a book. Tell us.
Standing on Principle. It's about a little corruption going on in Suffolk County, Long Island. Standing on Principle. Go to frankvetro.com. You'll love it. Phil's in it.
I'm in it. And I heard that Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, may play me if they make a movie out of it. I'm thinking about that. That's what I heard. But listen, thanks for watching. When you see this show, the election will only be about a week later, a week and like 9 days. All right? Very important. Get out and vote for President Trump. If you're going to vote for Biden, stay in. I'm only kidding. Exercise your constitutional right to vote. Very, very important. And to vote all the down ballots as well. Have a great night, Frank. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, Phil. Thank you.
You guys take care.
Good night, guys.